Dear friends, the great spiritual divide has already begun, and the choice you make today will echo through every chapter of your life. You stand at the threshold of transformation, where comfort tempts you to stay the same, but discipline calls you to rise higher. This is not about fleeting bursts of motivation. It's about building the unshakable strength that will carry you when the world goes silent, when no one is watching, and when the path feels endless. Today is the moment to decide if you will drift into mediocrity or rise into the fullness of who you were created to be. The line has been drawn. Which side will you stand on? What if I told you that the most important choice of your life is already being decided right now in the quiet places of your heart, not by a vote, not by a headline, but by what you believe, by what you choose to follow, and by the voice you allow to guide your steps. The world is shifting faster than most can see. Lines are being drawn in places once thought unshakable. There is no neutral ground anymore. Every day, every thought, every action is pulling you toward one side or the other. And the truth is, whether you feel ready or not, you are already part of this great spiritual divide. This is not about politics. It is not about trends. It is about the unseen reality shaping every visible thing in your life. It's the battle between light and darkness, between truth and deception, between a life anchored in something eternal and a life swept away by whatever feels comfortable in the moment. The choice isn't simply about what you believe with your mind, it's about who you are becoming in the deepest part of your soul. You are not just surviving this world, you are being shaped by it. You feel it, don't you? That quiet stirring inside when something feels wrong, even though everyone else accepts it. That longing for something pure, sealed, something unshakable, when everything around you feels like shifting sand. That's not weakness, that's the voice calling you home. But the danger is real, because if you ignore it long enough, the noise of the world will drown it out. And once it is gone, you won't even realize you have crossed a line until the other side is far behind you. This is why you need to hear this now, because the great divide isn't coming. It's already here. Families are splitting over beliefs. Friends are walking away because your convictions make them uncomfortable. And deep inside, you might be tempted to soften your stance just to keep the peace. But understand this: peace without truth is only surrender. The cost of staying silent in this hour will be far greater than the cost of standing firm. Stay with me, because what you hear today could change the entire course of your life. There is a way to stand when everything around you is shaking. There is a strength you can carry that no circumstance can break. There is a clarity that will keep you from being swept into deception. And it doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from opening your eyes to what is really happening and deciding right now that you will not drift with the crowd. By the time we're done, you will not only understand the divide, you will know exactly which side you belong to and why crossing over is the most powerful decision you will ever make. The truth is, the divide begins long before it becomes visible. It starts in the smallest moments, the quiet decision to compromise just a little, the silent choice to ignore what you know is right because speaking up feels uncomfortable. It grows in the spaces where fear whispers that you might lose something valuable if you stand your ground. It strengthens every time you choose comfort over conviction, until one day you find yourself further from the truth than you ever imagined. That is how darkness works, not with one great leap, but with tiny steps you barely notice until you have crossed the threshold. You cannot afford to be passive in this moment. The current of the world will not carry you to safety. It will always pull you toward the side that demands nothing of you but takes everything from you. The divide is not simply about what you believe now, it is about who you are becoming as each choice shapes you. Every day is a seed, and what you plant will grow into the harvest you will face. If you plant fear, you will reap regret. If you plant truth, you will reap unshakable strength. This is why clarity matters more than ever. You must know what you stand for before the pressure comes, because when the storm hits, it is too late to build your foundation. The people who stand firm in moments of shaking are not the ones who suddenly found courage. They are the ones who decided long ago that they would not bow, no matter the cost. That decision is forged in the hidden places, where no one applauds, where no one sees, and yet it determines everything about who you are when the test comes. You are being invited right now to make that decision. Not tomorrow, not when it feels easier, but in this exact moment. The pull of the world will tell you to wait, to keep your options open, to blend in until you are sure. But the longer you wait, the more the noise will cloud your vision, and the more you will be shaped by forces you did not choose. Choosing now is the only way to protect your future from being decided for you. There is a power in alignment that nothing else can match. When your heart, mind, and actions all point in the same direction, you become immovable. No storm can uproot you, no lie can sway you, no fear can own you. That strength is not reserved for the few. It is available to you in this very moment. The question is not whether you are strong enough. The question is whether you are willing to draw your line in the sand and never cross it, no matter how loud the other side becomes. Every great shift in life begins with an unshakable decision, not the kind spoken to impress others, but the kind made deep within, where only you and your Creator can hear it. That decision becomes the anchor that holds you when the winds rage and the waves rise. Without it, you will drift, no matter how strong you think you are today. The divide we face now does not wait for those who hesitate. It moves swiftly, separating those who live by truth from those who live by what is convenient. And once the separation is clear, it will not be easy to cross back. This is why the courage to choose is so critical. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to be owned by it. Fear thrives when you let the opinions of others weigh more than the truth you know. It grows when you choose silence over speaking what is right. But the moment you decide that truth is worth more than approval, fear loses its grip. You begin to stand taller, not because the world has grown quieter, but because you have become unshakable inside. The Great Divide exposes what has been hidden. It reveals the foundation of every life. For some, it shows strength they did not even realize they had. For others, it uncovers the cracks they tried to cover with appearance and words. This exposure is not meant to shame you. It is meant to awaken you. It is a call to repair what is weak before the pressure becomes too great. Pretending to stand when you are leaning will only end in collapse. True strength must be built now before it is tested. You are capable of more than you have allowed yourself to believe. You were not created to blend into the noise, to move with the tide, or to shrink in the face of resistance. You were created to shine with a light that cannot be dimmed, to carry a truth that cannot be broken, and to stand in a way that inspires others to stand too. But that will not happen by chance. It must be chosen with intention, guarded with discipline, and fueled by a vision bigger than your comfort. This is the hour to separate yourself from the pull of compromise. It is the time to stop entertaining the thoughts that weaken you and start feeding the convictions that will sustain you. The world will always offer an easier path, but the easy path leads to an empty destination. The narrow path may cost you more now, but it will reward you beyond measure later. The moment you choose it, you will feel something shift inside. The weight of hesitation will fall away, and a new strength will rise that no one can take from you. The strength you need for this moment does not come from what you see around you. It comes from what you build within. The noise of the world will always try to convince you that you are outnumbered, that resistance is useless, that it is safer to stand in the middle where no one notices you. But the middle is an illusion. It is not a place of safety. It is the slowest path to surrender. The middle dulls your convictions, weakens your resolve, and blinds you to the urgency of the hour. Every compromise in the middle moves you closer to the side you once thought you would never choose. You cannot live with divided loyalties and expect to have clarity. A mind that tries to serve two masters will always be torn, restless, and exhausted. Peace comes when you stop wavering, when you finally plant your feet in what you know is right and refuse to be moved. That decision frees you. It gives you a confidence that cannot be borrowed and a boldness that does not fade under pressure. The moment you stand with full conviction, you will see that strength multiplies in the act of standing. The Great Divide is not a punishment, it is a mirror. It shows you exactly where your heart truly is. If you find yourself pulled by every new opinion, it reveals where your roots are shallow. If you feel anchored even when storms rage, it proves that your foundation is deep. The mirror is not there to condemn, but to call you to action. It is an invitation to dig deeper, to strengthen the parts of your life that cannot yet endure the weight of truth. You are not powerless in this. Every thought you choose, every word you speak, every step you take is shaping the person you are becoming. The divide may seem vast, but it is crossed one choice at a time. Choose courage over comfort. Choose truth over approval. Choose discipline over distraction. With every choice, you carve a path that leads you further into strength and clarity. There will be moments when the pressure feels overwhelming, when every voice around you insists you are wrong, when your own doubts whisper that the fight is too hard. In those moments, remember that strength is forged in resistance. Every time you hold your ground, you are not just surviving, you are becoming unshakable. That is how divides are crossed, not by waiting for the world to change, but by changing yourself so deeply that no world can shake you. And when that happens, you will no longer fear which side you are on. You will know it, live it, and never look back. The clarity you need will not appear in the noise. It is found in the stillness, where your spirit can finally hear the truth without distortion. The world thrives on distraction, feeding you constant noise so you never pause long enough to recognize how far you have drifted. But when you step back from the chaos, when you quiet the endless voices competing for your loyalty, you begin to see the lines more clearly. You start to notice what is real and what is a shadow. You see the difference between what feels good for a moment and what will keep you standing for a lifetime. This is where resolve begins to take root. It is born in the moments where you turn away from what numbs you and toward what strengthens you. Every distraction you remove, every empty habit you refuse, every lie you reject is a brick in the wall of your strength. And the stronger that wall becomes, the harder it is for fear to breach it. This is not about building walls to keep people out. It is about building the inner walls that keep your convictions from collapsing under pressure. The Great Divide does not wait for permission. It moves forward whether you are ready or not. And if you do not choose which side you will stand on, the tide will choose for you. Passivity is a choice, and it always leads to the side that demands the least now but takes the most later. The sooner you decide, the sooner your strength begins to grow. The longer you hesitate, the more ground you lose without even realizing it. You are not called to live in hesitation. You are called to live with bold clarity. Clarity is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is the deep knowing that your steps are guided by truth, not by impulse or the approval of the crowd. When you have that alignment, your voice becomes steady, your choices become deliberate, and your life begins to move with unstoppable direction. The cost of this clarity is that you will stand apart. You will no longer fit into every space, no longer agree with every voice, no longer be welcome in every circle. But the reward is greater than the loss. You gain the freedom to live without constant compromise. You gain the strength to speak without fear. You gain the peace that comes from knowing you are exactly where you are meant to be, regardless of who understands it. That is the life the Great Divide calls you to. Not a life of ease, but a life of purpose so strong that no force on earth can pull you away from it. The moment you decide to stand apart is the moment your life begins to shift in ways you cannot ignore. The weight you once carried from trying to please everyone starts to fall away. The fog that clouded your mind begins to lift. You start to see with sharper vision, to feel with deeper conviction, and to move with a certainty that no one else can give you. This is not the pride of thinking you know everything. It is the peace of finally knowing who you are and what you will no longer compromise. That clarity becomes a shield, guarding you against the endless pull of voices that try to sway you. The Great Divide is not meant to make you afraid, it is meant to make you awake. It calls you to examine every area of your life where you have been content to drift. It challenges you to ask yourself who you are when no one is watching, when there is no applause, when the pressure is heavy and the reward is distant. This self-examination is not weakness, it is the purest form of strength, because only those willing to face the truth about themselves can truly rise above the lies of the world. Every choice you make now sets the trajectory for your future. You are either moving closer to the life you were created to live or drifting further from it. There is no neutral path. Every thought you allow to take root shapes the direction of your steps. Every word you speak plants seeds in the soil of your destiny. Every action you take is a declaration of which side of the divide you belong to. This is why awareness is power. When you see the weight of each decision, you stop treating them as small. You realize there are no small choices when the cost is your soul. Strength grows every time you resist the pull of compromise. It builds when you choose the harder right over the easier wrong. It multiplies when you refuse to bend to the pressures that seek to silence your convictions. And as your strength grows, so does your influence. Without trying to, you become a light in places filled with shadows. Others will notice your unshakable stance, and while some may resent it, others will be inspired by it. You become a living example of what it looks like to stand firm in a shifting world. This is why the decision cannot wait. The divide is not slowing down. The pressure will not lessen, but neither will your capacity to rise if you choose it now. The life you long for, the strength you admire, the peace you crave, they are on the other side of the choice to stand, to separate from the pull of the world, and to hold the line no matter what comes. When you choose to stand, you discover a strength that has been waiting for you all along. It was never absent, it was simply dormant, buried under years of hesitation, fear, and the need to fit in. The moment you stop seeking permission to be who you were meant to be, that strength rises to the surface. It is not loud, but it is unshakable. It does not demand attention, but it commands respect. It grows with each act of integrity, each refusal to compromise, each moment you decide that truth matters more than comfort. The Great Divide is not simply a separation of beliefs, it is a separation of destinies. The side you choose determines the person you become, the influence you carry, and the legacy you leave. You cannot stand in the middle and expect a clear future. You cannot plant one foot in truth and the other in deception and expect stability. Sooner or later, the ground beneath divided feet will crumble. Only those who choose fully will stand when the pressure reaches its peak. Choosing fully is not about never feeling fear or doubt. It is about refusing to let them dictate your direction. Doubt will try to erode your convictions, whispering that the cost is too high. Fear will try to convince you that you are too weak, but strength is not proven in the absence of fear. It is proven in the decision to act in spite of it. Every time you do, the fear loses power, and your courage becomes the louder voice. This is why discipline matters. Discipline is not punishment. It is the structure that keeps you from drifting when emotions run high and pressure weighs heavy. It keeps you anchored to what is right, even on days you feel like letting go. Without discipline, convictions fade under the heat of resistance. With it, they grow stronger every time they are tested. The divide will test you. It will expose the cracks in your foundation, but it will also reveal the steel in your spirit if you have built it well. This is why preparation is not optional. You cannot wait until the moment of decision to strengthen yourself. You must choose now, build now, stand now, so that when the moment comes, you are not shaken. Every step you take toward clarity and conviction is a step away from the pull of compromise. And as you continue, you will notice something shift. The things that once tempted you lose their grip, the opinions that once swayed you lose their power, and the fears that once held you lose their voice. What remains is you, clear, strong, unmovable, and ready for whatever comes. When you strip away the noise, you begin to see that the divide is not about the world around you as much as it is about the world within you. The real battle is fought in your mind, in your will, and in the quiet places of your heart. If those inner places are divided, it will not matter how strong you appear on the outside. Sooner or later, the cracks will widen, and what you have built will not hold. But when your inner life is united in truth, there is no storm fierce enough to tear you apart. When you strip away the noise, you begin to see that the divide is not about the world around you as much as it is about the world within you. The real battle is fought in your mind, in your will, and in the quiet places of your heart. If those inner places are divided, it will not matter how strong you appear on the outside. Sooner or later, the cracks will widen, and what you have built will not hold. But when your inner life is united in truth, there is no storm fierce enough to tear you apart. That unity within yourself is the source of unshakable strength, and it is forged in the decisions you make daily. You cannot wait for perfect circumstances to commit fully. The longer you delay, the more the current of compromise pulls you toward the side that demands less but costs more. Clarity is born in urgency. It demands you choose now, before hesitation becomes a habit and indecision becomes your identity. Every moment you postpone is a moment given to forces that do not have your best future in mind. And every moment you act with conviction adds weight to the side of truth until it becomes the only ground you stand on. The discipline to guard your heart and mind will determine the depth of your strength. You must be intentional about what you allow in, because whatever you dwell on shapes what you become. Allow voices that pull you toward compromise, and you will start to bend. Surround yourself with truth, and you will begin to stand taller without even trying. What fills you is what leads you, and what leads you is what defines your direction. The divide makes you choose between the temporary and the eternal, between the fleeting comfort of now and the lasting strength of what will endure. Many choose what feels easier in the moment, not realizing the price until it is too late. But you have the chance to choose differently. You can take the path that demands now, but rewards you with a life of meaning, peace, and purpose that cannot be shaken. That choice will not come without resistance, but resistance is proof that what you are building matters. Every test you face is an opportunity to strengthen your stance. Each time you refuse to bend to pressure, you are reinforcing the foundation that will carry you through the seasons ahead. And with each victory over compromise, you step further away from the shadows and deeper into the light. The more you walk in that light, the less appealing the darkness becomes. You are not just surviving the divide, you are mastering it from the inside out, becoming the kind of person who cannot be moved, no matter what comes. The longer you walk in clarity, the more you realize that strength is not built in grand public moments, but in the hidden choices you make when no one is watching. Integrity is not formed under applause. It is forged in silence, in the moments you say no to what weakens you and yes to what strengthens you, even when it costs you. This private victory is what gives you public courage. Without it, you will crumble the moment the pressure becomes personal. With it, you can withstand storms that cause others to fall. The divide is sharpening every day, and neutrality is disappearing. The illusion of a middle ground is fading, and what remains is a clear call to choose. This choice is not about labels or appearances. It is about alignment with truth at the deepest level. It is about being so rooted that no shifting opinion can move you. That depth does not happen by accident. It comes from deliberate, consistent steps toward the principles you refuse to abandon. It is a daily fight to guard your convictions from erosion. Every compromise you resist adds weight to your foundation. Every truth you affirm becomes a stone in the wall that protects your soul from the flood of deception. Each decision becomes a declaration that you will not be swayed by noise, fear, or the endless pull of convenience. Over time, these decisions form an identity that no circumstance can rewrite. This is how people become unshakable, not through a single moment of resolve, but through countless small stands that add up to an unbreakable life. When you live like this, something changes in your spirit. You stop seeking validation from the shifting opinions of others. You no longer measure your worth by acceptance or rejection. Your peace is no longer dependent on the comfort of the moment, but anchored in the security of truth. This is freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to never again be a slave to fear, compromise, or deception. The cost of reaching this place is real. You will lose some relationships, some opportunities, and the false comfort of blending in. But what you gain is far greater. You gain a life that is whole, a heart that is at rest, and a mind that is no longer divided. You gain the ability to stand in the open without shame or hesitation, knowing you are aligned with what is unchanging. And once you have tasted this strength, you will never trade it for the hollow safety of compromise. The great divide may separate you from the crowd, but it will also set you apart in a way that gives your life a clarity, purpose, and power the world cannot take away. Once you understand the weight of the choice before you, there is no turning back to ignorance. You can no longer pretend that drifting is harmless or that neutrality will keep you safe. The moment you see the truth, you are responsible for it. Responsibility is not a burden meant to crush you. It is an invitation to rise. It is the call to live with intention, to stop moving through life on autopilot, and to start shaping your days with the urgency of someone who knows the sequence takes. The divide is not just separating ideas, it is separating lifestyles. On one side, there is the life built on shifting sand, always bending to the latest pressure, always compromising for the sake of temporary peace. On the other, there is the life anchored in something solid, where every step is deliberate, every word is chosen with care, and every action is aligned with what is unshakable. You must decide which life you are building, because time will prove your foundation. Standing firm requires a depth of commitment that cannot be borrowed from someone else. No one can make this choice for you. Influence can inspire you, but only personal conviction will keep you standing when no one else remains. This is why it is dangerous to rely on the strength of others without building your own. Borrowed courage fades when the heat rises, but the strength you have forged within cannot be taken because it is yours. This level of strength demands a daily surrender of distractions that dilute your clarity. It requires you to step away from the voices that normalize compromise and toward the disciplines that sharpen your convictions. It demands that you guard your heart from subtle lies and keep your mind aligned with truth, even when that truth is unpopular. Every day you practice this, you build a reflex to stand without hesitation. The moment will come when your stance is tested. It may not arrive with warning. It may not give you time to prepare. That is why preparation must happen now, in the quiet, in the unseen, so that when the moment strikes, your answer is already decided. You will not need to think about it, because the choice was made long before the challenge arrived. When you reach this place, fear loses its power over you. The opinions of others no longer dictate your peace. The pressure of the world no longer dictates your choices. You become steady, not because life has grown easier, but because you have grown stronger. And in that strength, you find the freedom to live without compromise, to walk with clarity, and to stand as a living example that the great divide does not have to weaken you. It can be the very thing that makes you unbreakable. Strength is not proven by loud declarations, but by the quiet, unshakable resolve that remains when no one is watching. It is built in the moments when no applause comes, no validation arrives, and no one acknowledges the cost you pay. That is where real conviction grows, in the unseen battles of the heart and mind. If you can remain steadfast there, you will not break when the storms come. You will not waver when the weight of opposition presses against you, because your roots will have grown too deep to be pulled from the ground. Every compromise may feel small in the moment, but it plants seeds that will one day bear fruit you do not want to harvest. Every time you choose to stand, even in the smallest matters, you strengthen the foundation that will hold you when the greater trials arrive. You are not preparing for comfort. You are preparing for endurance. You are building the kind of strength that is not dependent on circumstances, the kind that carries you through fire without burning and through flood without drowning. The pressure to conform will always be present. It will come dressed as convenience, as the path of least resistance, as the temptation to simply avoid conflict. But the path of least resistance always leads downward. True strength demands you climb, even when the incline is steep, even when the weight is heavy, even when the world around you seems to be descending in the opposite direction. It is in the climb that you discover how much you are capable of, and it is in the resistance that you realize you are not as fragile as you once believed. You were not created to drift. You were not called to blend into the background of life, quietly fading into irrelevance. You were meant to stand as a clear and undeniable presence, a voice that cannot be silenced, a light that cannot be hidden. This is not arrogance, it is responsibility. If you have been entrusted with truth, you are accountable for how you hold it. To bury it in the ground out of fear or apathy is to waste the very purpose for which you were given it. There is a power in living with absolute alignment between your values and your actions. It frees you from the exhausting double life of saying one thing and doing another. It gives you peace not because life becomes simple, but because you are no longer divided within yourself. When your heart, your mind, and your will move in the same direction, you walk with a force that cannot be manufactured. The world will always try to pull you into its current, convincing you that surrender is easier than resistance. It will tell you that bending a little will not matter, that compromising just once will not leave a mark. But every time you yield to what you know is beneath you, you give away a piece of your strength, and over time those pieces add up until you no longer recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. Strength is not built in the easy decisions. It is forged in the moments when everything in you wants to escape the weight, but you choose to carry it anyway. There is a quiet kind of courage that refuses to be swayed by noise. It does not shout for recognition or seek to prove itself to others. It simply stands, unmoved, like a pillar that remains when the storm passes and everything else has been stripped away. This is the courage you must protect. It comes from knowing who you are, from having settled deep within yourself what you will and will not accept, from deciding that your integrity is worth more than approval. Red. That is the kind of life that influences others without trying, that speaks without shouting, that stands without asking permission. Your growth will not come from chasing validation. It will come from choosing the harder road when the easier one calls your name. It will come from silencing the voice of fear that tells you to shrink back into the shadows. It will come from rejecting the illusion that peace is found in avoidance, when real peace is born in facing what frightens you and overcoming it. Every time you rise when it would be easier to retreat, you are chiseling away at the weak parts of yourself and revealing the strength that has been there all along. Life does not reward the hesitant. It rewards those who take decisive steps even when the outcome is uncertain, who refuse to let doubt write the final word. The longer you delay action, the heavier your fears become until they begin to feel like truth. But when you act in spite of them, you discover they were nothing more than shadows with no real substance. That is the secret power of persistence. It proves to you that the limits you once believed in were only illusions. If you want to live with unshakable strength, you must stop feeding the weakness within you. Stop entertaining thoughts that keep you small. Stop aligning yourself with people who dull your fire. Stop allowing yesterday's failures to dictate tomorrow's potential. Decide that every step you take from this moment forward will be one of alignment, intention, and resolve. And when you feel the pull to turn back, remember this: the version of you are becoming is worth every ounce of effort, every moment of discomfort, and every act of defiance against the temptation to give in. Keep moving forward, because the strength you are building now will carry you further than you have ever dared to imagine. Discipline is the quiet architect of every lasting transformation. It is the force that stands guard when motivation fades, the anchor that holds you steady when emotion strays. To sway you. The world is full of those who start strong but collapse under the weight of inconsistency because they never built the inner structure required to sustain their vision. Without discipline, dreams remain wishes, intentions remain unfinished, and potential becomes nothing more than a ghost of what could have been. Discipline is not punishment. It is the purest form of self-respect, the declaration that you are willing to do what is necessary, not just what is convenient. Every choice you make is a seed. Some seeds grow into strength, resilience, and wisdom, while others grow into regret, weakness, and wasted time. You cannot plant seeds of laziness and expect a harvest of excellence. You cannot water excuses and expect a life of achievement. You must be ruthless with the standards you set for yourself, because the moment you lower them, you send a message to your own mind that mediocrity is acceptable. And once your mind accepts mediocrity, it will resist the discomfort of growth with everything it has. The greatest breakthroughs are born in the moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. That is the point where most people surrender, believing the struggle means they are failing. But struggle is not failure. Struggle is proof that you are stretching beyond the limits that once defined you. It is the friction between who you were and who you are becoming. If you can endure that friction, if you can keep showing up when it feels pointless, you will emerge on the other side with a strength that cannot be faked, borrowed, or taught. It can only be earned. You must understand that the mind is a battlefield, and the war is won or lost in the thoughts you entertain. Every day you are faced with two voices, one that urges you toward action, growth, and excellence, and one that whispers of comfort, delay, and compromise. The voice you feed will shape the life you live. Feed the voice of strength by acting on it immediately. Do not give hesitation time to grow roots, because hesitation becomes inaction, and inaction becomes regret. There will be days when no one notices your effort, when your progress feels invisible, when the only reward for your discipline is knowing you kept your word to yourself. Those days are not wasted. They are the foundation days, the unseen work that makes the visible results inevitable. Hold the line. Refuse to drift. Refuse to excuse. The future you are building is already taking shape, even if your eyes cannot see it yet. And when the moment comes where the results finally break through the surface, the world will call it sudden. But you will know it was built, one disciplined choice at a time,